Okay, good morning, students. I'm very delighted to be here, and I want to first of all thank Professor Jide Oladipo, who gave me this opportunity to come and speak to all of us. I was once a student, so I'm always happy to come to the midst of students and interact with them. Thank you also to Dr. Jacob, who is the head of the department, for all the preparations that have been made. And I also want to thank the members of staff that are here. As a journalist, I used to think that academia was a walkover. But then when I did my PhD, I was sweating every day like a goat, and I said, my goodness, I give the utmost respect to people in academia. So thank you very much. I respect you. Please, let's clap for them. It's not easy at all. It's a lot of work, you know. So a quick background. We're all students of mass communication. So what is politics? I think all of us already have an idea. Politics has to do with interactions or the way we make decisions about how we want to live. A set of activities that determine how we want to live, the kind of agreements we reach on how we govern our society. That's basic politics. And politics is ubiquitous. Everything that we're doing in life, we may not know it, there is a political undercurrent. Do you agree with me? Yeah. There is always a political undercurrent in whatever interactions and engagement we're having with people. And then let's go to media. We're students of mass communication. What is mass communication? It's exchange of information to a wider reaching audience. And then what is media? Media is the channel through which you communicate with people. So mediatization speaks to the influence of the media in all sectors, not in some, all sectors of the society. Do you agree that the media is influential? Are you aware that the media is influential? Yes. Exactly. So the mediatization speaks to the influence of the media in everything that we do. It also tells us that other arms of government or everything else depends on the media for information. Whether it is politicians, whether it is economists, everybody depends on the media for information, but today we are more concerned about political information. So there's a dependence of the media for political information, and more journalists are the ones that are shaping those news content. Related to mediatization is also media interventionism. And media interventionism has to do with the leeway that journalists have to shape news content. Most times it is journalists that have the power to shape the news content. However, as we will see later, the politicians also shape news content indirectly, whether we are aware or not. They have figured out a way to do that, and it's happening. So all the power that we have as journalists sometimes is taken away from us through politics. There are 4 dimensions or 4 aspects of mediatization. Sorry, this is very academic. I'm trying to make it easily digestible for you. So there are 4 dimensions to mediatization. First, deals with the extent to which the media are important sources of information. Is the media an important channel of information? Yes. They are. Then the level of independence of the media. The degree of mediatization depends on the level of independence of the media. So, for instance, what do you call independent media? Can someone share with us what do you see as independent media? Or someone who is interested, how do you recognize media logic in what you're reading? So there are some indicators that help us to identify or recognize them. So when the news is framed as a strategic game or a horse race, then that's media logic. And I'll explain more of that. You know, sometimes when you watch the television, and it's like, especially during election campaigns, it's like it's a war. Have we noticed that? Yeah. We're all here during election campaigns. People are almost going to fight one another. You know, literally on the television or outside in the streets. So when news content is framed that way, like it's a war, that people are going to kill one another, that's strategic game or horse race. That medium, the most cynical type of political logic to push his agenda, to push push his own policies, because he's very anti-immigrant, and that's the policy that he wants to work on when he becomes president. So he uses it very well, because he understands the power of the media. But then, the journalists are also covering it from their own angle. So you can see, when the anchor brings in an analyst that suits the purpose, because the analyst is obviously anti-Trump.
Of the French guillotine, the reign of terror.
This is the criminalization of disinformation.
You have every right to think an election might be rigged.
He was pushing it as far as he could, and maybe he pushed it a little too far. But should he die in prison for that?
Isn't it curious that the timing always happens to be hours?
Good evening, my name is Kenneth. So I feel like there are two parties, Biden and Donald Trump's party. So every analyst, very tactical. One of two.
43 points behind and just sees Ron DeSantis, who's essentially been pitching himself. She's doing so well against him.
Well, speaking of weaknesses, the whole...
Relationship between Israel and Palestine.
The political views of general public, people in general, is set in stone. What if, let's say, politicians, for example, have different views from general people?
The people are powerful, but the thing is that most people are not aware or don't care, especially in this part of the world.
Two theories, or say, three theories are combined in that particular lecture. The first one is agenda setting, and the system of agenda setting, which is framing. Of course, these two theories normally, the assumptions of these two theories, first and foremost, we will say that agenda setting suggests that media may not tell us what to think, but media certainly tells us what to think about. And that is, of course, the work of politics and our social environment with the media. But Dr. Ikoku, when he was closing the lecture, if you look at it, the last thing in the presentation is report responsibly. She thereby refers to social responsibility theory.
We appreciate the guest lecturer, Dr. Constance, for that wonderful